Hey team, welcome back to Club Rooms, where we document the stories behind grassroots rugby right across New Zealand. Today, we're at Marist Rugby Football Club in Auckland, from its early days at Liston Park in Ellerslie to its home now at Dunkirk Road in Mt Wellington. This club has evolved, but its foundations stayed the same. We sat down with Ivan Tasi, a former player, now a board member, who's raised his family through the club and is still helping shape its future. We get into culture, community, and what's changed over the years, and what they're working to rebuild. Stay with us, because at the end we ask Ivan to describe the club in 3 words, and his answer says it all. Let's get into it.
My name's Ivan Tasi, and I'm a board member, Marist board member here at the club. Have been for a couple of years, and I'm an ex-player. And yeah.
What was the first thing that hooked you into this club?
I guess we had an ex-player from Marist at the time. I was at school, and he was coaching our first 15 at St Paul's College. A guy called Joe Borich. So anyway, so Joe helped the first 15 helped coach the first 15, and at the time, and it was quite obvious that after we finished school that year. And we happened to win the championship as well. Most of the boys that left came to Marist because of the fact that we had that association with Joe, and he was a Marist Premier player at the time as well. So that helped.
So obviously, just briefly in your introduction, you're talking about you're an ex-player. What are some of the emotions or feelings that you feel when you walk back through the club rooms?
Right now, as an ex-player, it's a little bit different because it didn't start here, because Marist used to be, when I was playing anyway, in Ellerslie, at Liston Park on Maru Road. So that was quite different to what we have at the moment, which is a little bit more sort of open club type. Here at Mt Wellington, and of course it's not an area that we've been used to, and we've only just moved here in the last, I think, about maybe 10-12 years. But I guess the emotions coming into the club, it's always one of pride for me, just looking around and just sussing out the guys who've come to play, or you kind of look at them and you think, well, I wonder how long these guys are going to be around. Hopefully they're here for a long time, and that's all you can wish for. When you see these young guys come through, because in the modern game now, if you're any good, you're gone. Especially most of our top players. So yeah.
In terms of, obviously, you've just touched on about location. Can you take me back to some of your earliest memories on a Saturday morning down at the park?
It was quite funny, but it was quite disciplined, for us back in those days. And it was like, it was always a team call. And when it was a team call, it was something that you had to do. It was like law, unwritten. And so, you'd get told you had to be there at, say, 12:30. You'd be there at 12, so that you weren't late. You didn't want to be late because you didn't want to let the team down. And I think that was one of the big things, is it was that discipline. And I think, having that was a good thing, because it just helped with getting guys to make sure that they were there on time. I think I lost my train of thought just here, man.
sorry. Get a bit of emotion moving in the background.
I reckon.
Yeah. I guess that feeling, we're just, talking about camaraderie, everyone was a one call, one decision kind of thing. Everyone's all in or all out. Could you describe I guess, the game evolving over the years and what you've seen from a past player experience?
It's kind of changed a lot, especially when you're talking now in this professional era. And when we were playing because we were playing for, I'd say, first and foremost for the camaraderie. It was to see your mates, meet up with them, not just on a Saturday, but you'd see them on a Tuesday, Thursday. So it was like if you had girlfriends or you were married, then it was a great way to sort of like get out of that, and relax time, your away time from the family type thing. So it helped with that, but it was for me that friendship, that camaraderie, the spirit, that's kind of changed the game quite a bit, because now you're looking more at the way you play the game. It's like, is my form good? You're working on this, there's no social skills involved. You know what I mean? It's like everything is about how best you can play the game. It's got nothing to do with for me, the social aspect of rugby, which was a big part, which was that meeting people and making friends and all that. That's kind of like really secondary now, which is kind of reverse roles, because it used to be what we came to play the game for. And the game improved because you got to know the people that you were playing with and the friends that you made. And because those friendships became a lot harder, when the game got harder, you dug deeper. Now it's more about, okay, you've got patterns and you've got certain ways of playing a game, and your coach gives you, all sorts of game plays and all the rest of it. And now it's about get that right and you'll win the game. And if you don't, and if something else happens in between, it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about that, And so it's just about winning or losing the game. It's got nothing else to do with the holistic part of the rugby that I joined, anyway.
That makes a lot of sense. In terms of, I guess, from the holistic side and getting to know people and sharing bonds, as you've just kind of mentioned, digging deep in the tough times, could you just highlight, I guess, some of the characters that would have been in your teams over the years?
One of the guys that we played, who was a captain, and Tongan guy, a guy called Rudy Capelli. He was a hard man, tough, but he was also really quite generous, and he was one of those guys, who could take a side and mould them, because he guys sort of warmed to him because of, he had one of those personalities, characteristics, and he used to get us into a lot of trouble too. Yeah, but no, I mean, he's just one of many. One of my best mate, a guy called Rick Johnston. He I can't say enough about that guy. He was a really awesome footballer. He's a good team man. My best mate. But the good thing about Rick is that he's also tied up with a lot of other places as well, and like in rugby and outside of rugby. And of course, which is really good for people that I know anyway, and that know him. Who else is there? I don't know. It's some of the older guys that played at the time. Like I said, Joe Bright was one, and he played sort of like before we did. He was one of the older guys. A guy called Paul Tolich. Dally's from out west, but Tolly was one of my first locking partners in the Premier side, and he was kind of like, he was that guy who was probably only had about 3 or 4 years to go before he finished, but he used to pull me into a lot of stuff. He was a hard man. Oh, Tolly, he was both on the field and after the game, Who else was there? Yeah, Mike Richards was another guy. He's called him the Flea. He was one guy that always stood out because he one of the key players in the Premier side that year. You know, that the older guys played, and he was in the first five. Played for Auckland. And one of those guys they used to call him the Flea because he was so small, but could get around the field. You know, kick goals. And, yeah, just good. Yeah, I guess.
What was the ultimate moment that you realised that this club was more than just a rugby club for you?
Oh, that pretty simple, really. When I was able to, when I had kids, and we started coming down to the club, came down with my wife and my children. My girls were the ones that sort of grew up in this club. My two eldest, and for me, that was the pinnacle. That for me, that was the essence of the rugby club, and I saw that in all the players that I played with in my time at that time. Young families could bring their kids down, and they could play in the lounge area, and they were let go, and you know they could do basically whatever they like. Nobody said anything, but they were well behaved in the end, you know. But they did what they needed. They had the space, and people would give them that. I think that family type atmosphere that the club brought was great. And as I say, my kids grew up in this club. My girls would be here Saturday, and you know till about 6 or 7. And my wife enjoyed herself here too because there were other friends, the other ladies that were here, and they would be here with their kids, or the ones that weren't, they'd help with the kids that were there, and it was that type of thing. And nobody sort of really minded because that was just what you did, and it helped with everything else. So we didn't have to worry because we were out playing our game. And then when we finished, we came back and they were there, and we'd be there. We'd have a few drinks, something to eat, bit of family time, and then head home about 7 o'clock, and 7:30, whatever, and that was our sort of Saturday evening. And and that was great as young families because it also, like I say, it used to give the women a little bit of an out as well because at least they were out, able to get out and about and have a bit of a social time as well. But with the kids, because there weren't too many other opportunities really. When you're working 5-6 days a week, and then your husband's are training, and then the rest. So it was good for the ladies as well. Yeah.
Cool. Moving on from the social aspect, kind of looking at the club culture side of it now, what do you think makes this club different to other clubs in Auckland?
I think for me it's the religious context of our club, and I don't mean that because of any other reason that everybody here goes to church and all the rest of it. I don't mean it like that. It's more about the fact that we're a Catholic based club here in Auckland, and it's unique in that Marist are the only club in the country that's not named after a suburb or a city or a place, right? It's a religious order, and for me, that's the difference. It makes us unique in that we have brothers and sisters all over the country and quite internationally as well. I mean, there's a Marist club in every province that you go to. Every province you go to, there's a Marist club, and you go to the islands, and there's Marist clubs in the islands. And for me, it's that brotherhood, sisterhood thing. It's you know, you're not just one. You're one of many, and so you represent the name. That's what it is for me. I don't know what it is for anybody else, but that's what it is for me, and it's a great feeling, you know, especially when you're up and down the country and someone says to you, "Oh, I know," you say, "I play a bit of rugby, or I'm involved in a rugby club," and they'll go, "Oh, yeah." And you say Marist, and they go, "Oh, yeah," because they either really like you or they really hate you. So yeah, there's no in between here, man.
On one side of the fence or the other.
Absolutely, man.
From your perspective, why do so many players stay connected to the club so long after they stop playing?
I think a lot of it has to do with the type of friendships that you make, and I think you'll be at a club longer if those friendships have been really tight. And like I say, the things are changing, but me personally, I think it's trying to bring back that loyalty to your club. I think first and foremost, you know, us as administrators now and coaches, and you know, we're the leaders, and we need to sort of like, I guess, look at how best we can retain people at the club, and like for me, it was never about the rugby. It was never about the rugby. It was always about the people within the rugby, and I think that's the essence for me. I think that's the key, and I think forget about the rugby. You know, it's about the people that you meet, and I think that's really important. Everything else will come and fall into place if you can get that right, and I think that's important.
So if someone new to the neighbourhood around here moved in tomorrow, what would your message then be to, I guess, come in and be around part of the club?
Oh, pretty simple. I'd say, look, come into the club, come and meet some new people. You're new to the area. First and foremost, look, we've got an area here where you can have something to eat, or probably actually sit them down and give them something to eat, or and a little bit to drink or whatever, you know. Not necessarily alcohol, but you know, it's like, you know, we've got a bar here, we've got a restaurant, we've got a lot of people here that would be great for you to meet, especially because you're a local person. And there's a bit of sport that's played here every weekend. And if you're interested, or you've got children that are interested, we've also got some sports teams here that they could join. But I think I'd be pushing the club and the people more first.
How important is it for the next generation to keep the club culture alive?
Oh, very important. And I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I think it's more because of the professional era now, and the way the players tend to socialise in the groups that they're in. They don't do a lot of socialising outside of the groups that they're already in, and so and a lot of these our best players are no longer playing for your club regularly. A lot of these young players are now sort of like they're straight out of school. They might play one season of club football, and then they get picked up by a rep side, and then the next thing you know, you've got half a dozen guys who played for you that year all playing rep football, and they're not available for you at the beginning of the season because they've got rep duties. So I guess, you know, bottom line is that we try and get them connected to the club first and foremost, and that, you know, if they're not here as a player, but they can still come down as a you know, socially and keep in contact with the people that they may have joined up with in the club initially. Keeping the families involved, I think that's really important. I think that's a key, and I think, that you may not have the player here, but the families might still be coming, and I think that's really important.
Looking back at your time involved with the club, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm proud of the fact that we still have people here who give 110% of their time and their effort. That we still have people who are passionately involved in the club. And I'll be honest, I haven't in the last few years, and I won't make any excuses, and I've kind of fallen away a bit, and I think I see that in the guys who were around my era, and a bit later, and I think, but I see a group of people now starting to come back, and I think for me it's, I've made my mindset now is to do that, is to be here for the people that are here, that are doing the work, that are doing the money for the club, and to help where I can, and that they see me, right, and not just me. That I'll encourage our guys and our board members and our members, guys who are ex-players, and that I'll encourage them to start coming down and just look. They don't have to be here every week. They can be here once a month, but let's make an effort to try and get down to the club, and because like I say, unfortunately now it's and it's with every club here in Auckland. They're pushing hard for members, but I think if you work on the people that you have instead of the people that you'd like to have, I think work on those people first, and then make sure that they're coming regularly, and then I think other things will start to fall into place. But
definitely. What do you hope this club looks like in 20 years?
Well, for a start, I hope we're doing a lot better than now, and that we still have big numbers coming to the club, and that, and that's about it. Really, that club rugby is still alive. I think that's the key, and I think a lot of that will come down to the rugby union and the people who run the rugby at the moment, because I think that's going to be another important factor, is how the competitions are run and all the rest of it. And I think that's going to be a key to membership, because I won't elaborate too much, I think.
Yeah, cool. Do you think it's important that stories like this should be told?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it should be told, regularly. And I think there's certain things, and I was alluding to before, because it's not just about, because we can work hard here at the club, and the people here can do the best job ever. But I also think that we need the buy-in of the people that run the competitions as well. The Auckland, the rugby union, Auckland Rugby Union, and the likes, because I think it's really important that they understand that for them, in order for Auckland Rugby or the higher ranks to function, that we've got to have people down here that are coming through. And if our numbers are dwindling because of the way the competition's being run, or things that are happening within that rugby union that we're not, or they're not helping the clubs with, then I think they're going to have a lot of trouble in the future.
Last question. So you've done really great with the time, honestly, I appreciate it. If you had to sum this club up in 3 words, what would they be?
greatest brotherhood ever.
Hey team, thanks for making it through to the end. A big thank you to Marist Rugby Auckland and also to Ivan Tasi for telling the story. If you like stories like these, like, subscribe and share. It goes a long way in helping us tell these stories. Keep an eye out for the next episode. We'll see you soon.